right, so where's Mr. Molden?
He's right here.
All right, Mr. Molden, if you'll come down. All right, and Mr. Garahan? Oh, and Mr. You're that way.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's Wednesday, but it feels like it doesn't feel like a Wednesday today for some reason.
It's early.
All right. Court is calling 2018 CR 10374 and 2018 CR 9310, State of Texas versus Travis Molden. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Jason Garahan, Your Honor.
Charles
Defense.
Buck for Mr. Molden.
All right, you all have a slid it this way. I mean, it's,
Right here.
yes. Yeah, Charles, I can't see you. All right. So we're here for you, your request for a bond.
Correct. He
And
was
it's,
on bond out of the court. He had a case with the feds. He was taken into federal custody, so they got off of his bond and he's remanded without bond. We're asking you to set new bonds so he can bond out while we address these matters.
all right. And so it's the court's understanding then from what defense counsel is saying is that the reason why there is no bond is because the bondsman did an affidavit to surrender surety because he was in custody.
That's
Is
my
that
understanding, yes.
all right?
He turned himself in and then they got off, yes.
All right. And state, is that your understanding?
That's our understanding, yes.
All right, so with regards to cause number 2018 CR 9310, does anybody know what the previous bond was?
Yes, I'm sorry, and was that the drug case or the harassment?
All right,
Sorry.
that is harassment.
Harassment was 15,000.
All right, and are you all both in agreement to placing the bond back at 15,000 or no? And is there to be no contact?
Yeah, well, I believe those are prison guards, I believe,
Ah.
so.
Okay, well, he's not going to have any
He's not
contact
gonna
with
have
the prison.
for that person.
He's not going back to the prison.
No.
Okay. All right, and then, and cause number 2018 CR 10374, what was the previous bond?
20.
20,000.
Okay. All right, and then there are a couple of questions that I need to ask you, Mr. Travis, based upon the new laws that are now in place. Could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand if you'll state your name for the record.
Travis Molden.
All right, Mr. Molden, have you had any prior psychological issues or commitments or any type of mental health issues?
No, ma'am.
No diagnosis?
As a child. As
All right.
like a teenager.
All right, and what was the diagnosis?
PTSD, bipolar.
Any drug use?
No, ma'am.
No marijuana? You've never used anything?
Yeah.
All right, so have you used marijuana before?
Yeah.
That's yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, anything other than marijuana?
No, ma'am.
And Mr. Molden, the reason why I'm asking you these questions is because I have to set conditions of bond so that you will be successful on your bond and not come before me with a bond revocation request. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're saying only marijuana.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, if you're released, do you have a place to stay?
Yes, ma'am.
Will you be staying with someone or by yourself?
I'll be staying with someone.
I'm sorry,
I'll be staying with someone.
who will you be staying with?
Girl, the address.
I'm sorry, what did he
Do
say?
you need the address? His
Girlfriend?
girlfriend, do you need the address? That's what he's.
No, we'll get the address off the record, but so you're gonna be staying with your girlfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Does your girlfriend have any children?
Yes, ma'am.
What are their ages?
4.
No, I mean,
Four.
just one,
One, just 1 year.
4 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a girl or a boy? Is this your child or no?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, is there, are you going to be working, have employment?
Yes.
All right, and what type of work are you going to be doing?
I'm work.
I can't hear.
Handiwork.
Handiwork, okay.
He's been in continuous custody for over 4.5 years. So he's gonna have to go out but he's gonna get back working, doing handiwork.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
All right. I am going to order a referral for mental health. He'll get his bond set. It'll be through pretrial services. So, in cause number 2018 CR 10374. I'll follow your agreement. The bond will be set at $20,000. There's to be a referral for mental health treatment. Through pretrial services. Caroline, will pretrial services be able to do that?
Mental health details?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I believe so.
Okay. Could you see if you can get somebody from pretrial services to zoom in? Because I'd like him to already know who his contact person is.
Evaluate this child. Evaluate and see if he needs more mental health treatment.
And I'm going to order drug testing. That's going to be, the fees will be waived. And then is there anything else with regards to bond in that cause number?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then in cause number 2018 CR. And also for now, until I figure out what's happening with the mental health, with the PTSD and the bipolar, I'm going to do no unsupervised contact with minors. He can have contact, but somebody else needs to be there.
Yes, ma'am.
If there's a need for him to be on medication and he shows the court that he's on his medication, following everything, then that could potentially change.
Okay, thank you.
Then, in cause number 2018 CR 9310, I'll follow your agreement. Set bond at 15,000. Refer for mental health treatment. Through pretrial services. Drug testing. Waive fees. No unsupervised contact with minors. Is there anything else on either of these cases?
No.
All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a setting on these cases. Where are we on discovery?
The leave discovery has been done.
I have what's on e-discovery.
Okay. And since your client will probably be out of custody, we'll give him a reset form.
Okay, thank you.
All right, is there anything else before we go off the record?
No, Judge.
Okay. Deputy Laura, could you pass me a reset form? And then, Mr. Molden, we're going to see about getting a pretrial services officer on Zoom, so you'll know who you're meeting with, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can have a seat. Can I have the parties approach and announce for the record for the state?
Brittany Mitchell for the state,
Defense?
Justin Gonzalez for the defendant.
And are you Mr. Trevino?
Yes, Your Honor.
You entered a plea of no contest to count one on June 12, 2023. The court found there was sufficient evidence to find you guilty. The court deferred finding of guilt as you had applied for deferred adjudication. And just one moment here. According to the plea bargain agreement, punishment is to be assessed at a cap of 10 silent, and the state is remaining silent on your application. Of course, they reserve the right to speak to factual issues. Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report, state?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense?
Yes, Your
Any objections to the PSI report, state?
No.
Defense?
Honor. No objection.
And the court has read the documents that were submitted by the defense without objection. And those were letters from family members and people who know Mr. Trevino. And also the court has reviewed the documentations from Texas A&M University. And counsel, would you like the letters back or no?
Yes,
Yes.
And Your Honor, in the PSI report, it indicates that the victim's mother had not called back. The victim's mother did send a victim impact statement earlier this week. I wanted to make sure the court was in possession of that addition.
And the court does have that by email. Any objection to the court reviewing that, defense?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, just
Thank
give me one moment. All right, the court has reviewed that. Any other objections to the PSI report, state? Defense, any objections to the PSI report?
No objections to the PSI report.
All right, any witnesses by either party?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, defense, you may call your witness.
Thank you. I'd first like to call Pastor George Ramirez.
All right,
Trevino, send him here to be.
Pastor George Ramirez. All right, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
George M. Ramirez Jr.
All right, defense.
Thank you. Can you please introduce yourself to the court and explain to the judge where you work?
Yes, so my name is George M. Ramirez Jr. I am a community pastor for a ministry called Immersion Outfitters on 1604 Braun Road. And I serve as the leader for that ministry, overseeing men and women's Bible studies and teachings. And that's how I met Alejandro.
Okay, and please explain to the court how you met Alejandro.
Sure. So one of the ladies who comes to our women's study was a former coworker of his and had reached out and asked for prayer for Alejandro. And I made contact with him. And for the last year, I've been meeting with him weekly, once a week, to counsel.
And sir, can you please explain to the judge what it is that you and Alejandro have been doing together for the past year?
Absolutely. So again, in our meetings, my counseling is biblical counseling with him. Looking at the choice that he made and looking at how to use the tools that God has given him to be able to address those things, being very open in our conversation. Again, using the Bible as our guidance to counsel him.
And so you are aware of the charges of why he's before the court today.
I am, yes.
In the times that you've worked with him, has he ever denied what he did that day,
No,
those days?
from the very beginning, he's been very honest about his word choice. And it has made it even a point in every one of our meetings to not only pray for his situation, but for the victim as well and her family.
And so in working with him, has he expressed remorse for his actions at that time?
Very, very remorseful, repentant heart as well for that choice. Yes.
And together, have you guys been working towards ways to prevent anything like this from ever happening again?
We have. We've looked at also, the tools that has and looking at, accountability, not only just on our one-on-one meetings, but even through some of the technology as well.
And would you describe yourself as a person who's holding him accountable?
I would, yes.
Okay, and how so?
Well, number one, and it's something that I wanted to make note of, is I was a victim of this exact thing, which was very difficult to overcome. And again, knowing that God has healed me and he can do that, and even to give me a heart to be able to reach out to someone who has caused pain to another person and help them with stuff.
And have you seen in the past year positive changes with Alejandro?
Very positive. He's opened up. He has shared a lot about what he has gone through And again, regardless of the outcome of today, that he would continue on this path.
And do you feel that he would be an excellent candidate for supervision and working in the community?
I do. I think Alejandro it would best suit the community to be part of it and be productive. But I do understand it.
And if the judge does grant that, will you continue working with Alejandro to hold him accountable for his actions?
Absolutely. Number one, Alejandro is accountable himself, but as a support to him, I definitely would be there to have him, and our men's group would love to have him weekly. Yeah.
And when you met with him, did you meet with him just online through counseling or also in the home?
No, we met personally. Majority of our meetings were in the home, although we did use Zoom and did do phone calls while I traveled to Africa as well. We have a ministry there. So when I was there, we did still continue to meet on Zoom.
And so you've met his parents,
I
correct?
have, yes.
And does he help in the care of his parents?
He's a very vital role in the care of his father and his mother in the home. And so, again, I think it would be best with supervision and that he would be able to be productive and help the family out.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass the witness.
State.
Just briefly, what is the demographics of your church?
Yes.
All right, excuse me, everyone, make sure you whisper.
No. So again, we are primarily a men's ministry. We have about 200 members. But we also have a women's group that my wife leads. She's a pastor as well. And then we have a larger group in Africa, which is about 400 members in Liberia, West Africa.
Are there children that attend your church?
They are. We have youth groups, and myself and my wife, we do teach youth Bible studies as well.
Is there a teen program? Like a young teen church program?
Well, we designate it as youth, so that would be anywhere from 5th grade through high school. Kind of group. Yeah.
And are there services where the groups are intermingled, like a congregation?
Co-ed or yes, so we do have co-ed. Again, we have leadership that helps and assists with co-ed Bible studies, and that's primarily what we do. We don't have them segregated; they are together.
Okay. No further questions.
Right, anything else?
Nothing further.
All right, you may call your next witness.
I call Alejandro Trevino.
All right, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may lower your hand. State your name for the record.
Alejandro Hernandez Trevino.
All right, defense.
Thank you. Alejandro, who are your parents?
Ruben and Patricia Trevino.
And are they here today in court with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And have they come to all of the court settings with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please give the judge a little bit of information about your parents.
Yes, they're, wonderful. My dad, has been a hard worker his whole life. Has had major bodily injury due to his work. He's had back surgery, 2 knee surgeries. He's in to get a new back surgery, hopefully a knee replacement. My mom has battled cancer, which was really hard. And she beat it, but it's every day, you just think, and they're the best things in this world, and it hurts, that I hurt them, but I'm hopefully will continue to help them regardless of the time frame, but
So let me ask you this, sir. Do you currently live with them?
yes, ma'am.
Do you help care for them?
Yes, ma'am.
Has your father had physical falls where you've actually had to help pick them up and take them to a safe place?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you've graduated high school. What other degrees have you received?
I have an associate's in engineering from Blinn College and a bachelor's degree in engineering from A&M University.
Up until your arrest, were you working?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you lost that job when you were arrested, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You've been on bond conditions this entire time?
Yes.
Do you remember when you went on the monitor, what the date was?
I think around May 16th,
Okay,
I believe.
and was that full house arrest or partial house arrest?
Full house arrest.
And to your knowledge, have there been any violations reported to the court while you've been on bond?
No, ma'am.
Now, before we came up here today, did you review with me the PSI and TAP report?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you agree with everything that was written in there?
Yes, ma'am.
If the judge is to give you and grant your application for deferred adjudication, are you willing to follow any and all conditions of the supervision?
Any and everything.
You understand that with the offense, no matter if the judge grants your application or if you're sent to prison, you will be having to comply with Chapter 62 for the rest of your life.
Yes, ma'am.
correct? Have you done your own research to understand what that's going to entail?
Yes, ma'am.
Now specifically, after we reviewed the TAP evaluation and the PSI report, did I hand you the second document, the email from the victim's mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you review that letter?
Yes.
Were you aware of the mental health issues with the victim prior to your relationship with her?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did reading that open your eyes?
Yes.
Okay, how so?
You don't think what your actions mean until you see it. And that hurts more than all of this. I, being responsible for those feelings and that hurts because I don't want to be responsible for someone being in pain. That hurts more than anything, and I am deeply sorry. And I just hope that God helps everyone, and
Now, when you say you don't want to be responsible, you understand you are responsible.
yes, ma'am.
You're not denying anything.
No, ma'am.
And if the judge grants you your supervision, or even if the judge does send you to prison, will you continue spending the rest of your life making up and feeling sorry for what you did?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Your Honor, I have no questions. for that.
All right. And you were aware that the complainant was underage, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is there any other questions?
There's no other questions and there's no other witnesses, just argument.
All right, the court will hear argument, and I appreciate your honesty.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. My client, the reason we submitted the documents to you is I've gone through all of the evidence with my client. So he is well aware of what was submitted in the plea agreement and the stipulations, as well as anything that was and everything that was conducted during the investigation. He has, Brittany.
Oh,
Sorry. He has no questions or no disputes about anything that was presented. Even with me in our conversations, he was always very honest about his actions. Yes, he did know how old she was. However, to him, in his mind, even though she was younger, this was a relationship and he believed that. And then I believe it's even in either the prosecution guide or the later statement, is the two of them had discussed everything, recognized that it was wrong, and then that's when everything ended. He was later arrested. He was always honest about everything. He is simply asking for the court's mercy in allowing him to go on to deferred adjudication. No matter what happens, he is always going to regret his decisions at that time. However, by granting his application, he'll be able to stay home. He'll be able to continue caring for his family. He'll be able to continue making amends there and receiving the treatment while he is on the supervision. And so that is what he is asking for. And he understands that that is asking a lot. He understands and recognizes the pain that he's put on everybody else, not just the victim, but also the victim's mother and her family. And he only hopes to be able to show you that he will be able to complete the supervision in a timely and orderly fashion and never come back in front of this court ever again.
Right. Any closing?
Your Honor, we're silent on ourselves. Retain my silence.
So, Mr. Trevino, I do appreciate the fact that you've done a lot of things to change yourself and work on yourself. The issue with this case and what sticks out in my mind, this is not an issue where you did not know she was underage. If this were an issue where you knew that or thought that she was of age, maybe I would be doing something differently. So I'm going to find you guilty. I'm going to require Chapter 62 registration. There's to be no contact with the complainant. I'm going to give you credit for any time served. I'm going to sentence you to 5 years in the prison. I'm going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendants' Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes.
All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. And because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we can go off the record. I've had plenty of people to appear before me charged with an offense like this. And I will tell you, you are the first person who has truly acknowledged what they did was wrong and are actually working on bettering themselves. Good luck to you.
Yes, yes.